Hi, good afternoon. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report, the week of the 24th of March, Friday the 24th of March 2023. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for listening, and of course thank you for distributing if you get a chance to do so. In essence, again, I haven't got great news. In essence, the problems with government have been multiplied and we seem to be going fast downhill. I'm going to call this week's broadcast Scorched Earth, and I'll tell you why. The bottom line is I need to talk about one topic only, and that is the failure by government and political parties, in particular the EFF, to actually treat their staff properly. It sounds a bit strange, and of course you can't make this up, but it sounds like this is really weird. It's almost an oxymoron where you've got two political parties, the ANC and the EFF, who both profess to be pro-worker, pro-poor, and in fact at the end of the day, pro the trade union movement. And what do? Both of them have been very effective in trying to destroy their staff and staff over which they have control. So thank you for listening to me today. It's Michael Bagram, Friday the 24th of March 2023. As we lead up to the elections next year in 24, probably around about July, August 24, we're going to see that the ANC is going to practice a scorched earth policy. They're doing almost anything they can do to try and muster up enough votes to get them to even 40% in next year's elections. Their own polling is showing about 40%. And if in fact they drop below the 50%, they have to go and scratch around and find someone to join them. Now their biggest partner, the ANC's biggest partner in this whole endeavor, is COSATU. COSATU has literally hundreds of thousands of workers. They have hundreds of thousands of voters. And at the end of the day, that's the last hope that the ANC can see. And that is falling apart very quickly. So I, as Michael Bagram, who work in the field with COSATU, with the trade unions, am getting a lot of feedback as to how they're starting to distrust the ANC, COSATU, the Communist Party, the EFF, you name it. All the parties, all the institutions that profess to be pro-poor. Now, of course, at the end of the day, our biggest disaster would be an alliance between the EFF and the ANC. I can't see that happening for a whole lot of reasons, but it's not for a Labour report. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour report, and I need to actually look at some of the minutiae of why this relationship has fallen apart. Well, just to recap on some of the history, you will recall that 4 years ago, the ANC government itself reneged on an agreement with COSATU. They took a technical point and didn't pay the third-year increase. We also saw about 7 or 8 months ago the strike in the transport sector where the ANC said all they can afford is 3%. Well, they couldn't even afford 3%, but they said, well, we can come up with 3%. The strike happened, ANC collapsed and gave them 6%. Now we're busy reading in all the press and we're busy watching this unfold in that government cannot afford more than 3% for the civil service. And what are they doing? They've put down an offer of 7.5%. This is really scorched earth. In other words, destroy the country just to keep COSATU happy. It's a simple concept. I don't have to spell it out in any more words than that. Sell the country short to keep COSATU happy, who will then hopefully put some of their votes into an ANC election mode in 2024. Now, can you imagine the workers seeing this when in 2024, the day after the election, the ANC or whoever's in government says we can't afford? Can you imagine the chaos, the anarchy that'll take place? So we need to actually go out there now and announce to the workers, tell them, please understand that this offer is very nice. It's beyond the inflation rate, but the offer is not sustainable. And the only reason why the ANC is doing it is to ensure that COSATU uses their people as voting fodder. That is real scorched earth. In other words, destroy everything that the country stands for just to ensure the vote. And I think that the leadership of COSATU need to know this, understand it, and let that message filter down to their people. So it's incumbent upon all of us in South Africa to speak up and to say, when the ANC offers this money, they're not offering it because they can afford it. They're not offering it out of the goodness of their heart. They're offering it in exchange for a vote and in exchange for South Africa. This is really bad. We've seen all sorts of things. The ANC and their own staff, they don't pay the PAYE over to government, to their own government. They're not paying the PAYE over. They're not paying the UIF. So when the staff get retrenched, where do they turn? When you get retrenched, you normally get some UIF, but you can only draw it if you're up to date. What about the pension? The pension on state-owned enterprises, the pension in the post office, Denel, the ANC itself, they're not paying that pension money over. And each month they're saying they're going to try and catch up. Meanwhile, you as a worker, you retire. You want to have access to your pension money, which you might not have access to. You might have access to UIF, you won't have access to it. Who are you dealing with? You can't trust your employers. Your employers are the South African government, and the employers, the ANC and the EFF. Now the EFF likewise, last week we watched a really strange situation evolve. A group of employees in Cape Town working for the EFF arrived at work and found that their doors were locked. They were dismissed without any recourse to the Labour Relations Act, Basic Conditions of Employment Act. Doors were locked. No disciplinary hearing, nothing of the sort. They just don't care. They don't care about the workers of South Africa. Now, the Democratic Alliance is a completely different thing. The Democratic Alliance follows the law. Although we might not agree with some of the laws, although we were fighting strongly to try and deregister many of the laws, to try and deregulate, if the law's there, we follow it. If the law says you have to pay UIF, workman's compensation, PAYE, to a government that steals the PAYE, well, what do? As a Democratic Alliance, we do that. We follow the law as it exists. It's a law-abiding party. And yet, when you think about the ANC, which is the governing party, the party that is supposed to be there to protect the Constitution, they're doing exactly the opposite. The only way we can speak up as citizens is to vote the DA, the Democratic Alliance, into government in 2024. The Democratic Alliance will reach out to some like-minded smaller parties. But at the end of the day, your vote really counts if you vote for a strong, solid party that respects the rule of law, that tries to reverse the scorched earth policies practiced by the ANC. It's going to take us years. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be like a magic wand. But at least we can save beautiful South Africa. At least we can go out there to the workforce and say, you will have jobs, we will create jobs, like we've done in the Western Province, like we've done in the Cape. The bottom line is we need to go out there, take hold of the situation, correct it, make sure we follow our labor laws, make sure that we actually deduct the right monies from employees, and make sure that we hand it over to the authorities. Like this is a madness, an absolute madness. The governing party, the ANC right now, are just ignoring their staff and pretending they don't need to pay PAYE, workman's compensation, provident fund, I don't know what else. I personally have been to the police to lay a criminal charge against the ANC for not paying over the UIF. Police are doing nothing about it. We do need that change of regime. Please be part of that new wave where we can say, let's have a rule of law, let's have a safe South Africa, let's have a future. So thank you for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram, Friday the 24th of March, 2023, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. Thank you.